Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video, I'll be going through the supporter type of matrix effect combination. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend you checking out my DPS matrix combo video first, where I cover the best damage output, boosting setup, and how you optimize a matrix effect for your main damage dealer. So it also covers that about the 8 set effect, the 12 set effect, everything about the DPS there. You can go check out the video. But for today, this video here, we will be focusing on something just as important, which is the supporter matrix combo in Etheria Restart. So whether you are using healers or buffer, supporters, or even defense skilling bruiser, the right matrix setup can seriously improve your whole team's survivability, utility, and consistency. So some players also ask about like the tank units, but since Etheria doesn't really have a traditional tank, because all the tank units are basically DPS that is going for defense skilling instead of attack skilling, then they are kind of like the tank unit, right? So I'll be also covering those defense based unit as well that play more as a supporter or a hybrid role. So in this video, I'll be breaking down the top matrix combination for the supporter style unit, explain what the stats matter the most, and show example who benefit the most from each kind of combination. So now let's take a look. Okay, so let me go through with the 8 set effect first, because 8 set effect is the most easy set effect to actually trigger, and it's the most common set effect we can actually use, which is going to be Wellspring or Unbreakable. So this, they are actually the 12 set effect, but with this effect here, you can still go with the 25% effect stats boost, but most of the time, you don't really want to go through it, but it's actually good enough. So let's say Wellspring and Unbreakable, they are most common used in their own, let's say, HP skill character like Valerian or like Mia, for example. Wellspring here, the 8 set 25% HP will good enough. So why I always say 8 set and not 12 set? Because most of the time we'll be using the 12 set effect from the other kind of enemies. For example, like let's say 12 set, probably we're gonna run Time Wolf or run Swift Rush, while I'm not going to run the 12 set of Wellspring or Unbreakable. Most likely we're always gonna run with 8 set or 4 set for additional set boost, but not going for like maximize out the 12 set effect. So the 8 set effect here, if you are going for stats boost, Wellspring and Unbreakable is good, or even the most common one is going to be the Swift Rush is also good. Then for the 8 set, like Cure for example, Cure here is the most common set for use for healer, but doesn't mean that Cure set is the best in slot for every single healer. For example, like Linglord, for example like Mia, Fuchu, Valerian, they can be used with Cure set, but Cure doesn't mean it's the best set for them, because for example, we can go for Bramble, for example, we can go for Swift Rush, we can go for Time Wolf, we can go for Bloodbath. There's a lot more other combination other than just for going for Cure. So what kind of situation you want to go for Cure is when you know that your that character mainly is surrounding with Cure, with healing effect, then Cure will come into handy. But most of the time, Cure can be easily replaced by other set effect, because the Cure here only gives you 25% healing effect, while we have other shell, for example Supernova here, instantly providing you 35% already. So that 25% not really going to be that good, but if you really want the heal effect, Cure set is the only set to go, or either are going to be Evil Guard. But most of the time, Cure set can be easily replaced, but it will be good when you feel like you want to maximize the healing effect output instead of other supporting effect. Okay, then the other one is Bramble. So Bramble set is the common defensive stat. It's like, for example, you want to go for Holden, for example, you want to go for like Rahu, then Bramble set actually come in a very good usage because of the counter attack and also the defense increase. But personally, I will prefer some of the other healer character actually going for Bramble set, because Bramble set is defensive plus 10%, which means it makes your enemies slightly tankier, and then with a counter attack chance. So this counter attack chance here will benefit if the enemies actually their S1 is actually strong enough. So let's say Linglord, for example. I like to build my Linglord on Bramble set, because Linglord, probably some player is actually building her with Cure, right? But if you look at the S1 here from Linglord, the S1 here counter attack will do some damage and heals 2 ally with 15% of their max HP and it's the lowest HP percentage one. And then you can, before healing, you can have a chance to purify debuff and then also apply Will Prayer. So instead of Cure Set, so this will bring back to the Cure Set theory crafting. So Cure Set only increase your healing effect by 25%. But if you build Bramble or Linglord, you can technically heal your another 2 ally and then technically purify and technically apply Whale Prayer as well. So like this kind of unit here, Bramble Set actually brings in a little bit more value instead of Cure Set because the S1 value is actually high. So what kind of unit doesn't want to go for Bramble Set and they want to go for Cure Set is unit something like, let's say, Valerian. Cause Valerian here, she does have the heal over time, so the Cure can technically benefit the heal over time here to increase the heal amount. But because you're most of the time going into the Hazy Dream, and Hazy Dream here give you shield, and then in the Hazy Dream you can't do counter attack, and the S1 here is only 40% chance to slumber. So basically Bramble Set is not going to be good on Valerian. Then what kind of unit is good for Bramble Set? For example, like Sanya here, the S1 here do some damage and Terminator push. Bramble Set is going to be decent on Sanya, but look, based on the S1 here, Terminator pushing or the heal amount, basically Cure will be benefit more for Sanya. So from this part here, you can figure out your way to actually filter out the unit is going for Cure or going for Bramble. So for example, Mia, if Mia counter attack, it will apply shield. Okay, shield amount to based on her max HP to the lowest HP. So if you want some emergency protection, then Bramble Set from Mia is actually going to be good. But most of the time you're going for Mia is going for Cure Set is because you don't really want a shield from Mia, because the best in slot value from Mia is actually from her healing amount. Then you can go for Cure. So Bramble or Cure, they are both good, just depends to you their S1 value. If their S1 value counter attack is actually going to be good, which is the basic attack, then Bramble value will be better than Cure. But if the unit S1 doesn't bring a lot of value, then Cure healing will be better than Bramble. So depends on your situation, but overall Bramble have a more value because they are not just about healing, they can also be DPS for the Bramble Set. So depends on your usage, but I will say Bramble is one of the most often used 8 set effect for most situation instead with Cure. Then the other 8 set effect is going to be Balrog, Strife, and Swift Rush. So Swift Rush, most of the time you're going for 12 set effect because you are going for the maximized speed you are able to get. But time to time, probably you are going for other set effect, then 8 set of Swift Rush is also going to be good. 20% speed is still going to be a massive amount of speed boost. Then for Bulwark and Strife, they are most likely going to be a PvP set. Because most of the time, Bulwark here for the immunity at the start of the combat, it won't bring any value in PvE because most of the time you want to outspeed the enemy. So Bulwark here is more likely going to be the unit that going to for PvP, and then you are avoiding the enemy trying to CC your unit. Like some team build, they are actually built with a lot of control, then Bulwark here will actually mess up with their combination. So let's say you're putting Bulwark with Veronica, or probably Bulwark with Linglord that can actually cleanse. So that unit here have immunity. So let's say Linglord have Bulwark, then Linglord won't get control, right? Then even though let's say enemy is using like Kazuyo to actually sleep all your unit, but because you have the immunity here that you won't get AP down and you turn meter down, and then you won't get control, then Linglord can actually instantly put up immunity and cleanse for your whole team. Then it will turn the table instantly because of this Bulwark. So Bulwark here most likely is going to be used in PvP. In PvE situation, you can just ignore Bulwark because it won't bring too much of a value unless you get outspeed. Then for Strife here is most likely going to be the PvP set as well, because after you get attacked, then advance your turn meter by 10%. But most of the time when you're playing in PvE situation, you're actually outspeeding the enemy and you're less likely gonna get attacked. Like for example, the boss here, probably they're gonna attack you and one-shot your team very easily. So Strife set here is most likely going to be PvP when you get attacked, which is going to be very often, and then you get turn meter push and you can actually outspeed the enemy and you can do damage back to them. So Strife set here, that's most likely going to be PvP set. So if you're playing for PvE, then these two set here doesn't matter too much. But so most of the time, these are most going to be PvP competition. You can ignore it if you are just focusing on PvE set. Okay, so these are the common 8 set. It's going to be Bulwark, Strife, Bramble, and Cure. So most of the time, you might actually see more about Bramble and Cure in terms of PvE combination. Then this one here really depends on your PvP playstyle and your build. Then the most common one, HP, Defend, and Speed. Swift Rush is actually the most common one, and then the other one will be HP because we have more HP skilling enemies to build. And then the Unbreakable one is most likely going to be a bruiser, for example like Rahul, for example like Holden. Then they'll be using Unbreakable just because they are actually defense skilling damage dealer instead of HP. Then the HP one will be like, let's say Valerian, or for example like Fuchu, because they are HP skilling type of enemies. Because if we look at Fuchu here, the healing is based on her max HP, the damage is based on her max HP. Then Wellspring here will benefit for Fuchu instead of Unbreakable. Okay, so for the 12th set here, we have the Wellspring, which is the stats, Unbreakable, which is also for the stats, and then for the Swift Rush here is for the speed stats. But other than the stat, alright, then we have some special effect one. It's going to be Blood Buff. So Blood Buff here are mainly used for PvE and PvP. So PvP here, if you're going to bruiser team, or like for example you are building for Tiamat, you're building for Holden, you want the unit to actually tank through the damage, especially from the Revelation meta, from the speed meta, then Blood Buff is the only goal for your unit to actually tank down the damage, because when the total damage taken in a turn exceeds than 20% of the max HP, then will reduce the other, like which from the 21% above HP will get reduced by 55%. So Blood Buff is the only way for you to actually be tanky in the Etheria Restart meta, because Revelation actually chip off a lot of your HP bar. So Blood Buff is the only set you want to go if you are going for tanky in PvP. But in PvE situation, Blood Buff also plays a very important role, especially in Rengoku Jutsu. If they didn't nerf it, then you definitely need Blood Buff, because if you're fighting a content that your unit can actually easily die, because most of the other content your unit won't actually die that easily, then if the unit actually will die easily, then Blood Buff plays in a very important role. For example, DPS can go for Blood Buff, supporter can go for Blood Buff. As long as you want survival, then you can go for Blood Buff. You can go for either DPS or supporter can also use Blood Buff, but only in the content that you really need survival, then you go for Blood Buff. Then the other 12-piece set here is going to be Time Wealth. So Time Wealth here is basically the most used set as well, because it provides effect accuracy. So for example, this is mostly used in PvE, because in PvE you want to rotate your turn a lot and also get a lot of effect accuracy to deal your control stuff on the enemy. And then most importantly is the 35% chance to reduce all your CD. This is important because if you play with a lot of supporter, for example like Mia, for example like Chachi, for example like Freya, as long as the supporter unit, you want them to actually rotate the most important skill faster, which is most likely going to be the S3, then Time Wealth plays a very important role and is the one of the most famous 12-piece set supporter you're actually going to do. So Time Wealth mainly used in PvE and not PvP is because PvP usually you don't really need the CD reduction. The battle probably ends before you can get the CD reduction effect. So most likely people are going for the 6-piece effect for effect accuracy and a mixture of Swift Rush to be fast and rotate the turn. Because if you are building with Time Wealth and you don't have speed, then it's actually pretty hard to trigger it, because you only can trigger it when you have 35% chance when you take the action, right? So most likely you're going to have a combination with Swift Rush and Time Wealth. But if you're going with Swift Rush and Time Wealth, you can only go for 12-piece and 12-piece. Then you cannot mix and match with the other special module effect, because it will take another slot here. Because every we only have 6 slots, and 6 slots here can only fit into every 3 part and 3 part, which is 3 Swift Rush and 3 Time Wealth. And every equipment module can only provide you 9 matrix effect, and we need 12, right? So another 3 matrix effect were provided by Shell. So if you're going for Time Wealth and Swift Rush both at 12, then you're gonna sacrifice the special slot here, the special module slot. Or you're gonna go for 8 Swift Rush, 12 Time Wealth, and then with another Swift Rate here, which kind of makes the same thing, because 20% here, and then if you go for 12 set is 35%. Then if you go with Swift Rush plus Swift Rate, it's still gonna get 35% because 20 here and another 15 here, but you get an additional 20% attack. Okay, so this is the most common 12-piece set here. Most likely you're going for either Bloodbath for tankiness, or either going for Time Wheel for accuracy and also for the CD reduction. Then the combination with Swift Rush. Then the stats here, not really that famous, really depends on your unit. Then we have other special module, for example like Evo Guard here, give you extra healing effect and effect accuracy. This is only good if we are using it on healer. For example like Lingluo, for example like Fuqiu, that Evo Guard here plays in action. But other than healer, this special module here brings in no value, because the most importantly is only the healing effect. Effect resistance here is something bonus, but most importantly people are using Evo Guard is for the healing effect. Then the other one is going to be the Coloss Guard. Coloss Guard also brings nothing too fancy, basically increase your defense and increase your effect resistance. So it's also a good set for tanky unit. For example, you're going for Unbreakable plus Bramble plus Coloss Guard, or probably they're going to run Bramble plus Bloodbath plus Coloss Guard. So you have additional 38% resistance, you have an additional 35% defense, and then you get some special effect here for damage reduction and counter attack. So Unbreakable in terms of like popularity, if you are going for like PvP, most likely player are going to go for Bramble, Bloodbath or Coloss Guard, or a mixture of Unbreakable, Bloodbath and Coloss Guard, because it gives you defense and effect resistance. Then the other famous one is going for Swift Smite and Ether Plague. So Ether Plague here increase your HP and effect accuracy. This is also pretty good, especially you're using the unit that you want additional effect accuracy. But because we have a Swift Smite here, most likely player is just going to ignore this set, then actually go for Swift Smite. Because HP here, in terms of HP value, not a lot of the unit, at least for now in Etheria Restart, doesn't have a lot of unit that can skill with HP other than the healer. And usually healer here, they want the HP percentage, but they don't want effect accuracy. For example, Fuqiu is a very good example. Like if you're building Fuqiu, why would you go for Ether Plague for HP and effect accuracy while you can actually build Evo Guard with healing effect and effect resistance? Like healing effect 12% probably being more value than the effect accuracy here, because Fuqiu doesn't land any debuff, right? So at least for now, not really a lot of player is actually running for this effect, because in terms of HP percentage, probably they can run other better stat. Then the most famous one is actually Swift Smite, because Swift Smite here give you speed and give you effect accuracy. This is actually very strong, because usually when you're building a speed unit, it's going to be a controller unit or either going to be a debuffer unit. And debuffer unit needs the effect accuracy, and debuffer unit also needs the speed. So at most common build is going to be Swift Rush plus Time Wealth plus Swift Smite. So they get the maximum amount of speed they are able to get, and also the effect accuracy. So any 20% here and another 18% here. So it's basically already a free 38% effect accuracy with a lot of speed here and bonus effect here for CD reduction. So this is actually one of the most common combo. Then for Battle Wheel, right, it's most likely going to be the DPS unit one, which is the previous video I covered already. So most likely we are not able to use going to use Battle Wheel in our supporter, because it's give attack bonus, and even though the follow-up damage here, most likely your supporter unit and your debuffer unit doesn't really need a Battle Wheel at all. So we're not going to cover for this part. So most of the time your common supporter unit or your controller unit or your debuffer unit is going to run Swift Rush plus Time Wealth, or a mixture with Swift Rate or Swift Smite. But most likely it's going to be Swift Smite because of the effect accuracy. But if you only care for speed, then Swift Rate here also plays in a good action. Depends, you have Swift Rate a faster sub speed, or Swift Smite having a faster sub speed. Then for defender unit, for example like Holden, for example like Tiamat, most likely you're gonna see them like running with blood buff plus close guard. Or for example like Tiamat is a HP skill animus, so it's going for Bramble plus blood buff plus Wellspring. Cause Tiamat is a HP skill unit instead of defense, right? And then for defense, what like for example Holden is going for Unbreakable, going most likely going for blood buff, probably make sure Bramble, and instead of color guard, because like if you don't really want the additional effect accuracy and defense bonus, and you want the effect more, then probably can go for Unbreakable, Bramble, and blood buff. There's a lot of combination you can actually build with in terms of supporter or debuffer or bruiser. Really depends on the unit, what stats he's actually carrying about. Is defense or HP? Then do you need the additional counter attack? Do you need the damage reduction? Most likely you need the blood buff to survive. And then Swift Rush here depends on, do you want your unit to be speed, or probably can even mix sure with Bulwark and Strife to have a little bit more tankiness and also more effect. Okay, so that's actually a lot of mixture, a lot of combination for this part. So really depends on what unit you're going for. Now, let me show you some few examples that actually running on my own supporter. Okay, so for example, let's take my Lily for example. So my Lily here, I'm just trying to build her as fast as possible from my account here. And then the combination you're going for, like for example, Lily here, the main usage for Lily here is just outspeeding the enemy, right? Then for my module here, is just going to focus on Swift Rush and Swift Smite. Like you can see here, my Swift Rush is actually already overload because you only need 12, but it's just basically I'm just putting in every single the best speed I can actually put it in. Like mine is all purple, I didn't get any yellow, so this is the maximum speed I can actually go for now. And like I know that my Lily here is only just to outspeed, so I just want to focus on speed to outspeed it. So going for Swift Rush and Swift Smite. So the shell here in going for like you have to focus on the shell that can actually provide you 2 speed thing. So within this 2 speed thing, right, you can actually go check out in every shell boss, they have actually their own shell that provides you the double speed. So for example, Nico Nana here, you're gonna see White Fang can get the fast, the Swift Rush here, and Swift what's it called? Swift Raid. Swift Rush and Swift Raid. So sometimes if you look at the enemy supporter, and if let's say in PvP in enemy supporter, that if you are using striker, it's not because they build their supporter in DPS way. It's just because they are abusing the Swift Rush plus the Swift Raid combination from Nico Nana shell drop. And the other one is, for example, like Ericon here, you can get Swift Rush and Swift Smite, so they can combine into the plus 50% speed. For example, Sharon here, if not mistaken, is gonna be this lamb here. Yeah, so it's gonna be the Swift Rush and Swift Smite here. So then this is actually one of the best debuffer shell as well, because you can increase your effect accuracy, right? And then it provides you fast and also provides you effect accuracy and speed. And then, for example, Shadow Flame Hoyin here is gonna provide you Jackal Guard that can give Swift Smite and Swift Rush. And then if you are looking for Rengokusu here, it will be Codex of Magic, providing you the Swift Rush and Swift Raid or Swift Smite, giving you a lot of speed. So if you know that unit's position, which is like for example Lily here, just want her to be fast, then everything just slap into the speed. Okay, then another example, so let's say my Valerian. So my Valerian here is a mixture with Wellspring, with Time Wealth and Evil Guard. So that technically I can sacrifice the Evil Guard here and go for Wellspring to get it to get more HP, go until 45% instead of 25%, because I get another 3 piece, then I can go to 12. But the reason why I'm going for Evil Guard is just a little bit more effect resistant and slightly healing effect, because she can provide a little bit of heal, which is from the heal over time, but it's just a preference thing. You can go for either more max HP to increase the amount of shield she's able to provide, or going for Evil Guard. Okay, then why am I going for Time Wealth? Because I know the main selling point about Valerian here is about her S3. The S2 here comes in handy, but S1 here brings basically 0 value, or probably 10% value when you can slumber. But most of the time you won't land it because you don't have effect accuracy on her. So I know that I want to rotate the S3 fast, so I built her with Time Wealth, so I can pray that every time when she take action, she can actually reduce her own CD and pray that the S3 can actually rotate faster. Then the shell I'm going for Gigabyte, so I can turn meter push by herself because she's built with slow basically no speed, basically very low speed. So I want Gigabyte to actually turn meter push her to take a turn, and there's a chance to reduce the cooldown so she can rotate the S3 faster for Valorant. Then for example, let's say Fuchiu for example. So Fuchiu here, I'm going for Fortissimo because additional emergency heal. Then for the module here, I'm going for Time Wealth and Cure. So why am I going for Cure instead of, like, for example, Wellspring? Because every time Fuchiu heal is very consistent, because as long as she casts the Moonlit, then it will always provide healing 6% based on her max HP. So in terms of healing amount, she's going to trigger it very consistent. And also I'm combination with Fortissimo, so I want the Fortissimo heal, and every proc of the heal from the Moonlit Val here actually heals more, so I'm going for Cure set. Then I'm not going for Bramble because the S1 here doesn't bring too much of a value. Like, turn meter push for 2 ally is something good, but instead of Bramble, I think Cure set brings in more value to her because she scales with her own max HP, which so HP here helps, the healing here helps, and Time Wealth here because the value of Fuchiu is only for her S3. You want her to rotate her S3 fast, so getting Time Wealth is actually good to help her. So it's basically kind of like Valorant in a way, the build style. Then for my Linglor here, I'm actually going for Bramble set. So why am I going for Bramble? I already covered at the start of the video. So I built with Swift Rush is to make her fast, so she can, like for example in Aurora, she can take her action fast enough to actually apply the heal to AoE heal immunity and cleanse to everyone. Then Bramble is as long as she get hit, for example enemy hit her and then apply debuff, so enemy casts an AoE damage that does damage to everyone including Linglor, and then apply defend down on my team. Then this Bramble here will comes into handy because if she get hit, and if she trigger the Bramble set 25% chance and counter attack, then the S1 here provides a lot of value. She heals for 2 ally, she heals 15% of the max HP, she have a 75% chance to purify 1 debuff, which is the defend break the boss is going to land, and 75% chance to land more Will Prayer. So the more Will Prayer on the target, the more she counter attack, the more Will Prayer she's able to apply, and the more healing she's able to provide. So I will say that Bramble is actually a better set for Linglor instead of Cure set, just because the S1 of Linglor value actually brings in a very high value, and the defense plus 10% here and the Cure set plus 10% here doesn't matter too much. Like for example, Fuchiu HP percentage brings in more value because of the Cure set here, 10% makes her healing amount provided more because the shield is based on her max HP, the healing amount is based on their max HP, but because the higher the max HP, then the more shield she's able to provide. But if you look at Linglor's skill here, Linglor here, the healing is based on their max HP, which means no matter how tanky or how high HP your Linglor is, the healing amount is still going to be the same because it depends on their max HP. So if you look at here, all allies, their max HP, S1 here, their max HP. So it doesn't matter Linglor how high HP is, it depends on how many buff your teammate have, because if you look at Linglor passive, for each buff the target have, then the healing effect increased by additional 15% from the S3. So if you counter attack more to S1 to apply more Will Prayer, then more buff on the target, then your S3 can heal more. So in terms of Cure set and Bramble set for Linglor, Bramble brings in the most value. So probably this is how you can actually filter out what kind of set you're going for your supporter. Because Fuchiu here and Linglor here, you can already see a big difference. Like why Linglor is not going for Time Wealth, because Linglor S1, S2 and S3, every skill here actually is good enough to provide heal, while Fuchiu here S3 brings in the most value, while S2 and S1 is just something additional. Then another sample, like for example Chachi the Guard here, I know that Chachi the Guard needs immunity, effect accuracy to increase the chance to apply the immunity and extend all the buff here. So for example Chachi the Guard, I'm going for speed 12 and speed Time Wealth, which means I ignore the special module here. So he have the high speed and high effect accuracy and the chance to actually CD reduce for Chachi, because Chachi best value is actually extending all your buff and providing immunity and defend up for your whole team. S1 and S2 here brings in a little bit value, not too much, but the most value from Chachi is S3. So you want Chachi to actually reduce the cooldown fast, so I'm going with Halloween as well for the Swift Rush and Time Wealth, to maximize the speed he's able to take and CD reduction, so he can actually spam the S3 a lot more often for the team. So another example, like Shadow Sanya, I'm using this for my Terromaton Shadow Sanya. So my Shadow Sanya here is actually built with tankiness. So like for my Terromaton, there are a lot of units actually building fast. So my Shadow Sanya here doesn't need to build fast. So I can actually make Shadow Sanya a little bit tanky. And whenever Shadow Sanya take damage, then I can trigger the Bramble set to apply DOT, because the most value DOT amount Shadow Sanya can apply is actually through her S1. The S2 here is just for extending the DOT and apply one stack. The S3 here is settle all the DOT instantly, which is trigger all the DOT instantly. But in terms of DOT amount you can provide, is actually your S1 can apply 2 stack of DOT. So most of the time in terms of Shadow Sanya, I can rely on the Bramble to counter attack. So every time I get hit, then Shadow Sanya can counter attack and apply S1 with 2 DOT. So you can build something like this as well. So it doesn't have to build Shadow Sanya too fast. So you can actually make like Shadow Sanya plus Fungus, let Fungus slowly stack up the DOT, then Shadow Sanya trigger it, so you have more DOT amount of the target. Oh, then also want to cover one of the blood buff examples. So for example, this one here is Fuchu blood buff set that I'm currently using for my Aurora. When I make the Aurora Fuchu showcase, this is the set I'm going for. Like for example, you need Fuchu to actually tank down the damage and you want Fuchu to survive, then blood buff can be built something like this, like blood buff to make Fuchu actually able to survive, then with Cure set to increase the Fuchu healing provide, and also with Evo Guard here to provide more healing as well, so you get an additional 37% healing, with the Shell Halloween here to reduce the cooldown of Fuchu to let the S3 rotate faster, and going for blood buff to reduce down the damage. So there's a lot of combination you can actually go for supporter, depends on what content you're going for. Because other than Aurora, for example, I'm not going to use Fuchu in Aurora today. Let's say I'm going to use Fuchu for Terromaton or Doki Doki, then I don't need the blood buff because they can't really do that much of damage. Then I can rotate the skill into this set here. Instead of blood buff for tankiness, I can go for Time Wealth here to CD reduce her turn to take the skill faster. So that's all for this video. I hope this video actually gives you a clearer idea on how should you build around like healing, buffing, or utility without wasting the value effect or the substats. If you haven't seen my DPS matrix guides yet, you can definitely check that out too. Both videos work together to help optimize your whole team. So let me know in the comment section what your current support build looks like, or what kind of build you actually prefer more, if you don't have any favorite matrix combos I didn't cover. So I love to feature more in the future update as well for something like information kind of video. So thank you so much for watching and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is Sky Elk, Trekcan, thank you so much for your support. And for the supporter or patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Choni, Antonio Winterspoon, Rocco Stenzions, thank you so much for your support. And also special thanks to the Super Tanks MVP, HMZ Rings, thank you so much for your support. Special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest tag. Thank you so much for Code Wilderness, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Choni. Thank you so much for your support.